Hello, and welcome back to Over the Next Hill Fitness Podcast. I'm Carla Coffey, your coach and host for today's program. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing this podcast. We are really starting to grow, and that is because of you listeners. I appreciate you giving me those 5 stars and sharing it with other people that you feel need to hear this information. It's also brought to you by Coffee Crew Coaching. Yeah, that's me. I know my business tag. So if you need a running or fitness coach, you can email me, Carla at coffeecrewcoaching.com, and I can get back to you. You could also visit the website, and if it chooses to send me a notification that you've reached out to me, I will be happy to get back with you. My electronic world is totally glitching like crazy today. And actually this whole month. So you will find that in this podcast. So if there are a couple glitches, please forgive me. I am fairly good at editing, but some things I just can't help. So I appreciate your patience with that. So today I will be talking to Lyndsi Davenport and Kendell Myers, and we'll be talking about our Wolverine 100 race that we were all in. And so I really hope that you enjoy this, and we'll look to seeing you at the end. Welcome to the show, ladies. It's so great to have you here.
Yeah,
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Oh, me too. I've been trying to get you guys on for quite a little while, so I'm glad our schedules were free. So I wanted to have you on. I met you at the Wolverine 100 in October and of 2025. And your mom, Mr. Stepmom, was my pacer, and you two actually ran the race, and you ran it together, right? So
Mostly.
we're going to get in mostly, right. I kind of remember that. So we're going to get into that portion in a little bit, but I wanted to kind of give the audience like a why as to why you're, why I know you. But let's go alphabetically. And Kendell, tell us when you started running and why.
Oh gosh, I just need to hold up a picture of my husband, I guess. He he on a whim signed up for an ultra marathon after never having run more than 15 miles in his whole life. We ran together in high school. We ran cross country, and then we did not run for a whole lot of years until our son got really proficient on a balance bike. And suddenly we couldn't just walk along next to him and keep up. And we were very much not okay with, well, mostly him, was very much not okay with not being able to keep up with his kid. And so that was 2023, no, 2. He started running. He signs up for an ultra. I'm a physical therapist, and I am like, you're insane. This cannot be good for your body. Why would anyone do this? And I'm like trying to talk him off the ledge like he's crazy. And then I went and watched it, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. The trail community, just the people, the whole day was amazing. But what bothered me about watching was I hadn't been running at the time. He was strategically buying me running shoes and clothes. He's like trying to get me really excited to just start running. And I hadn't yet, but I saw so many runners that had started struggling, and their family, their friends, spouses were jumping in and pacing them. And I just kept thinking like, man, if he really needed me to come in and help, I'm not physically capable of doing that. And I hated that feeling. So lucky for me, he ran 50 miles like it was nothing. And I did not have to worry about running. But about a week later, I told him, you're going to think I'm nuts, and I have to take back everything I said, but I want to run an ultra. And so that fall, we signed up for the Marquette Trail 50. And that was the first one that I attempted, but unfortunately got cut at 40 some miles because we were timed out at an aid station. And then, that just kind of lights a fire under your butt to try again and to do something. So I ran, that was August, and then I ran the Dances with Dirt down on the Pato Trail in September. And so I finished 50 miles in September of 23. And then have paced now that I can do it. I've crewed and paced my husband in every 100 miles so far that he has run. I have run between 20 and 40 miles with him. And so aside from like my own races, that's what I really loved the most, is that I'm just like ready. I can jump in, I can run, I can crew, I can feed you, I can pull you along, like whatever. Because it bothered me so much to sit there and not be able to be a part of it in another way, which, not to say like crew, I know is very, very important, but we're just a very active family, and I had a history of running. I knew that I could run, but it felt so far away that there was no way I was ever going to be able to do that. So it's really amazing what some consistency and a little bit of FOMO will make you do.
Yeah. So were there no other distances before that? Like no 5Ks, 10Ks? You just went, both
I
of
mean,
you just went straight for the ultra?
a 5K I did run before the Marquette 50 that I DNF'd. I did run the Bayshore Marathon that May. And that again, it's just like, it was always somebody else's fault. We had a very dear friend of ours battled breast cancer, had a full double mastectomy and reconstruction, a full response to her chemo, but she made it a goal to try and run a marathon in the same year that she finished all of that. And so we are just those people, we're just those friends that were just like, hell yeah, like we'll do that with you. And then I was like, what have I done? Like, I don't really want to run a marathon. But it was right around the same time. Like, we signed up for the marathon, and then we signed up for the Marquette race. So I had, trained up for the marathon, took a little time off in the summer, and then did what I could to train for 50 miles, kind of having no idea what I was doing. But we didn't really do anything, not much like smaller. We just ran around home. We didn't race anything really smaller. It was just the full marathon and then the 50 miles.
Yeah.
We just went for it. and we learned a lot. We learned a lot.
Yeah. I think I may have done almost something similar to that, so I'm just as crazy. And we're going to get back to the things that you learned as we go on.
Yes.
So Lyndsi, tell us how you got started and why.
So I was a runner, kind of. I did track in high school, but I hated distance running. Like, even her cross country, I thought was crazy. Like, oh, you're running 10 miles and your race is 3 miles long. And I was a short distance sprinter, hurdler. And then I took a long time off of running, did some bodybuilding, went to med school. I kind of ran in med school and residency just for cardio, just for fitness, like a few miles here and there. And then in my residency, I had started running distance again. And then when we had babies, I didn't run at all. So postpartum with my third, Kendall could kind of see I was losing myself a little bit in motherhood, and that my baby was born the year that she did her first 50. And so then she's like, you just need to run an ultra marathon. And I was like, okay. So Isla turned 1 in February of 2024, and I started running again. I remember that day. It was one of those, in 24, we had that really nice winter where there were 70-degree days in February. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to go out for a run. Like, how hard can it be? And I was very humbled very quickly when I couldn't finish the 4-mile run I set out to do without walking. And then I was like, how am I going to run 50 miles? But I did. I did the Woodstock race in September of 2024. And there were not other distances for me either. We went right to ultra. I've never run a road marathon. I have run a handful of half marathons, and that's what I used to race when I was in residency. I did like 3 or 4 half marathons. But that was my first, I think, road half was in 2020 or 2013. And then I didn't come back until right into the ultra scene in 2024. So it was a fun postpartum journey.
I was gonna say hers is worse. Like, I just said you should run an ultra, and she was just like, okay. Like, she didn't even, like, you're right, maybe I should do that.
I really needed a goal, and I saw how her and Andy's lives were kind of changing with the distance running and that discipline, and how they had felt when they did the race. And so I was like, okay, maybe I want in on this.
Yeah, and it was like
everybody listening is saying, yeah, I want in on this.
Yeah, because you can't really explain it like you can have a conversation with somebody who's done it before, but when somebody says like, well, why would you run 100 miles? Like, I just saw a reel the other day, and it was a woman running across the finish line of a 100-mile race, and she's celebrating and she's sobbing, and the verbiage just said, how do you explain this to somebody who's never been this far outside of their comfort zone? And I was just like, that's it. Like, it's so hard. And so I remember telling her, you should just do it because you just should. And if you question it and you spend all this time saying, well, why would I do that? Then you're probably never going to do it. If you just trust that it's going to be worth it on the other side, then it's going to be great. But like, I couldn't even tell her why. I just told her that she needed to. And luckily she listened. Yeah, she obliged. There was no qualms about it at all.
My friend, when I ran my first one, she, I call her friend loosely because she's the one that got me into that. But she's like, hey, do you want to run 100 miles with me? And I said, sure. Well, she got pregnant partway through of the training season, but she did pace me through the night, which was really nice. But I was the same way. You know, someone said, "How don't you run 100-miler?" Okay. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I think that's how we all have that personality, I guess.
Right. I was going to say, it takes a special kind of person, I think, to just be like, okay, yeah, my husband still thinks we're all insane.
And he's
Yep.
probably right.
Partially.
So, yeah, let's talk about the things that you learned going from basically 0 to 100. Kendall, give me like 3 major things that like you've learned from doing something that crazy and insane, and what would you do different now that you're smarter?
Oh my gosh. I mean, from the beginning, I think fueling and like knowing what really works for your system is probably what I learned the most. You know, and I did quite well in Wolverine. I had a lot of experience of aid stations and that time on my feet just because of pacing my husband. So I knew what I was probably going to come into. I knew that like when I'm running with him, like it's 2 a.m. and I'm eating bacon and pickles and I feel totally fine and I can just keep going. Like my normal diet is so awful. I would eat.
Oh. Yeah, it's all right. It should reconnect. Yeah. Just close it. It should be fine. As long as, oh, there she went. Hopefully she'll call back in. Okay, well, while she's on her hiatus, tell me a few things that you learned.
I think the biggest thing was learning that I'm capable of so much more than I had thought. Even when I started training for the first 50 that I did, it was like, can I do this? Can I actually run 50 miles? And, you know, that self-doubt that kind of creeps in. And I remember when I was at, you know, like the 30-mile mark for that first race of like, oh, wow, this is the furthest I've ever been. And I felt terrible. And it was, can I keep going? And I came in, it was a 3-loop course for the 50 mile. And I came in and Kendell and Andy were my crew. And I remember just like, what got me through that second loop was like, get to her, get to her, get to her, get to her.
Oh,
and then once I got to her, I was like crying instantly, like, I can't do this. And she's like, well, you're actually injured. And I was like, no, but just everything hurts. Like, I'm tired. I can't do another 17 miles. And they like gave me, I think it was some pickle juice and some caffeine and a cookie, and they taped my knees, and Andy ran with me and sent me on my way. Cause they were like, well, once you get out there, you know, you have to finish the loop. So, you know, you get to the finish line and it's like, wow, I did that. What else can I do? And it just lights this, she's like, Kendall's like kind of lights a fire under you of like, wow, that was incredible to push myself. I think that we live in a very comfortable world. I have a very comfortable life, right? You know, we live in America and we have all these, like we're on our computer, you know, all the things, like the conveniences that we have. And so it's really nice to just like push myself outside of that. That was one really big lesson. Another thing was just how much I love running. It really just kind of rekindled that spark of like, wow, this is so, it's my prayer time. It's my time with my sister. You know, you take an overstimulated Dr. Mom of 3 and put her in the woods for 3 hours on a Saturday morning, and you're like recharging her whole life, you know? So it's really become like my peace, my prayer, my time to just kind of be and settle into the discomfort and get used to it. So that's been really good too. Those are probably the two biggest. And then, you know, kind of what Kendell echoed as far as like learning how to fuel my body. And I have Crohn's disease, so I was really nervous of how my gut would respond to the nutrition that we take in and all the sugar and simple carbs, but also just how it would respond to just being active and running for so long. And thankfully I've never had any issues, but learning how to fuel and what worked for me was one thing that we had to kind of work through too.
Yeah. It's funny that you say the nutrition when a lot of times it's not really nutritious food. We're just shoving stuff in.
Yes, all of the carbs, all of the sugar.
Yeah. Welcome
Thank
back,
you.
Kendell, by the way.
My only option was to refresh, so we left and came back.
There you go. Yeah. So let's now talk about the 100-miler. So whose idea was it to do the Wolverine?
I don't know.
So my friend Heidi is a runner, and she sent it to me and was like, hey, we should do this. Like, what do you think about this race? And then I sent it to Kendell and I was like, we should do this. And then we looked into it and saw it was a relatively flat course, and the fact that it had a really nice cutoff. Well, it was supposed to be. Do you remember when it first came out, they called it like 1,000 feet of elevation over the whole 100 miles, and it ended up being, you know, closer to 6. But so we thought it was going to be a flat course. But so we were like, this is a really nice first 100, right? It's relatively flat. It has a great cutoff. We get to run across the state because if you see us in our training, it's really funny what we will do to avoid doing an out and back. Like, we'll do anything to make a circle. So we're like, we just want to like start and end in a different place. We don't want to do loops over and over. So it appealed to us in a lot of ways. And then we were both like, we're fit now. We're like, let's do it. So just kind of, I think we kind of
there wasn't as previously stated, there really wasn't a lot of like thought. We were just like, yeah, this looks pretty cool. The point to point idea, my husband was the one struggling with the point to point because he was like our main crew all throughout the day. And so he's like, you know, I've chosen all these races that have been very easy on you. And I'm like, yeah, but you're running in circles for hours and hours and hours. Like, I don't want any part of that. And so I think the idea of going across the state was probably like the coolest thing. We were a little bit about like a first race, like because things could go awry. But we know we've run a lot with Travium. Like it's a good group, and like they usually run things pretty well. So, you know, the cutoff was generous. The course seemed pre-ice storm and pre-course modifications. It seemed just pretty mild. Like if we're gonna run 100 miles. Our goal is to finish it. Like we're not going to do anything nuts because we're probably going to learn a lot about being beyond 50 miles. And that was really it. I don't know. We didn't discuss it a ton. We just signed up.
And what happened to Heidi?
She did not run.
Oh yeah.
I knew you were
Heidi
gonna say
who?
that.
She did not run.
Yeah.
She decided that it was not her time, but I think she is signed up for this year. So
Okay. It's always those friends, the ones that get us into it, and they don't show up. So, where we started the Wolverine is where my first 100 ended. So it started in Mission Point and it went down around and ended
Oh,
in
that's cool.
Petoskey. Yeah, so I was like, this is the same parking lot I ended in, and so yeah, that was pretty neat. And then I went across the
Yeah.
state with that one. So yeah, but it was a road.
kind of like full circle.
Yeah, it was a road 100 though. So tell me about your day. I mean, because I know you were together for quite a while until like towards the end. So what was the conversation when you're climbing some hills? And
Oh my gosh. Yeah, right. We made a lot of friends.
It was a lot more
Yeah.
trail than we were anticipating, because the race director kind of made it seem like, oh, you could run this whole thing in your road shoes, like they're easy trails. And then when we were on that dirt bike trail, that was the part where we kind of, right after that is where we kind of split off. So the day started, I mean, it started out great.
Yeah.
We were nervous, but we were like, all right,
And we kind of just,
and we weren't really paying attention to our
Yeah.
splits. We were just kind of like, let's keep a good pace. Let's keep moving. We started early with walking the monster hills because we're like, if we're going to do it later, we should do it now to conserve our legs. And I mean, for Kendell, and I think for myself too, because everything over a 50-mile was a distance PR. But, you know, we set a PR in every single distance. So like we did our fastest 50-mile. It was her fastest 100K, my only 100K. But it was kind of cool to see those, our fastest 50K, all that stuff.
Yeah. We chatted with a lot of people. We made a lot of friends who were like, wait a second, like you guys are sisters and you train together and you're still running together. Like, I feel like I've gotten that response the most, that people are like, there is no way I could spend that kind of time with my sister and still be friends with her. And I'm like, oh, well, that sucks for you. Like, I'm sorry to hear that. But I think we were just really realistic, you know, like I'd observed several people in the 100-mile distance to just know that unfortunately it may not be realistic for us to just commit to being together from start to finish, because she might feel great when I don't, and vice versa. Like, unless we are just making a pact that no matter what, we are starting and finishing together, we both just wanted to move the best we could all day and finish. And that could have looked different no matter what happened with either of us. And so we honestly did great. Like, some of the beginning is just it's like scrambled eggs in my brain. Like, what mile was that? Like, I don't really know. My husband has a video montage of every aid station, and like, we were great. They were at every single one. And I don't know. We talk about literally everything. For how much we run, it's amazing that we can still have a conversation because we spend a lot of time together. But I don't feel like the things got quiet when we both started to get tired. And Lyndsi can share a little more like of this detail, but coming into that mile 48 aid station, my pacer was there, and that's where I was planning to have her start. Lyndsi was planning to do one more chunk and then have her pacer come in. And I feel like probably from the previous aid station to that one was probably the least talking we had done all day. Like, we were both just feeling it, you know, like we were doing okay, but there's just a certain amount of discomfort that you're in when you've been running for 48 miles. And so we probably did the least communicating. We weren't joking and laughing with each other anymore. We weren't talking to the people around us. We were just moving forward. And so Lyndsi started to feel, I don't even know. You can describe this a little more.
Yeah, I can just, So I was like starting to struggle. I don't know if it was the vest, like we had to wear those light vests, and I had ditched it, but where that was sitting, was also where my sports bra was sitting. And so I was getting this weird chest tightness every time we ran. And I had been sick the week before, or like a week and a half before. So I was like, oh no, what is going on? Like my heart rate was fine. Like I was checking in with myself, going through like all the mental things, like what's going on. And it didn't seem like physiologically like cardiorespiratory, but I'm like, every time I run, Kendall, like my chest hurts and I'm not like breathing efficiently. And so I felt like I was kind of starting to hold her back. And that was the first time in the race that I kind of started to have some doubt, where I was like, ooh, I don't feel like this doesn't feel good. And like, I don't want to quit, but I also didn't want to hold her back. So I called my pacers and had them, they were already at the next aid station waiting.
You didn't have any phone service.
No, I didn't have any phone service.
So I call my husband. He's so annoyed because, Carla, I gave him about 6 words and I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm at the aid station. I'm like, okay, we're a couple miles out, so they have time. Call my mom. I don't care where she is. Call my mom. Her and Selena need to be at this next aid station, period. Like, this is not a discussion. They need to be here. And he's trying to find out the details. And he's like, but what, why? And I'm like, Lyndsi is going to need a pacer when we arrive. Make it happen. And I hung up the phone. Like, I don't know. I don't have any really details for you either, because, like her and I don't know, you're gonna share the discomforts and probably a little more forthcoming with your problems with somebody that you're a little closer to. Like the girl that was coming to pace me, I'd never run with her before. She paced my husband at Woodstock. She was training for her own 100, and she was just like, sure, I'll drive up north and run 30 miles with you in the middle of the night. Like she was just gung-ho to do it, so I took her. But she was a near stranger to me when we started at mile 48. And so, Lyndsi was similarly, it was actually her PT that she had been seeing like up to the race time that was pacing her. So she'd seen her like for therapy, but she wasn't a super close friend. She didn't know, she wasn't somebody that you're just gonna like let it all out and be a baby to, and I felt the same way with Erica. Like Erica's not going to care if I'm hurting. She's done this before. She's paced before. And I was kind of getting to that point where I had to keep reminding myself that nobody cares about my problems right now. But it's just such a weird, like I remember, so I came in, my mom was there. Everybody showed up at the aid station as instructed. And I'm telling Andy that I'm struggling with food. Like I don't feel sick, but nothing sounds good. I'm sick of the sweet, but I don't know. Nothing. I didn't want anything. And that man handed me a fruit cup. And I looked at him like, I just said, I don't want anything sweet. Nothing sounds good. And then I took a drink of it. And seconds later, I was like, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life. And I'm just like, this is so bizarre. Like, you cannot be held responsible for anything that you say or you do between at least for sure miles 50 to 100 or beyond, but possibly for the entire day. Like it was just so bizarre. But so then we took off. Okay, thanks. Sorry. So we took off from that aid station. Lyndsi had her pacer. I had mine. And I really stand by, like, probably in that moment, that was the best thing for both of us, because we were both with somebody with a fresh brain and fresh legs, and it turned us around really quickly. I think probably we could have finished the race had we committed to doing it together, but we would have fed into each other a lot. If one wanted to walk, we'd have been walking. If one wasn't feeling good, we'd have been tending to the other one. I think we probably would have been on the course several hours longer had we stayed together, because it's just hard. Like once you both are feeling it, it's hard you don't have the capacity to be the person that the other person needs, and I feel like around that mile 50 is where we were nearing that point. Like I want to do well and I want you to do well, but we can't support each other the same way that we would when we're running 10 miles at home,
Yeah, for sure. That's funny that you say that. Is you need that other perspective, the people that are like, I'm not in pain. Why are you in pain? And you need that, especially at that late in the race, for sure.
Yeah, and my pacer, for both of us, I think, because we didn't know them well, the conversation just flowed, right? We had so much to talk about. They kept our mind off of things. And Selena was just the exact, like, calm, quiet, but sturdy that I needed, where she was just like, she made sure I was eating every 30 minutes. She refilled all my bottles for me. She was bringing me snacks and giving me caffeine and just like, we switched, I think, to walk run intervals right around that 50-mile mark, where I was running for 5 to 7 minutes and then walking for 3 or 2. We started 5 and 2, I think. And that was really just giving me a nice like break, because I was like, okay, I can do anything for 5 minutes, right? I can run. And we didn't stick to that the whole time. There were moments in that 50 miles where I felt really good and ran for miles, but it was nice to have that like consistent break. But like if I stopped or I slowed, she was like, nope, you're fine. You're so strong. You've got this. Go. Like, it wasn't like she didn't belittle me, but she was like, no way, you've got this. And you're going to keep moving. And so she ended up being exactly what I needed. That next section up until the 100K mark, like, went so much better because of her. So she came in and paced me, I think she was with me from that 48 mile until the 100K, and then, or 70. My mom also was my pacer. Kendall had Erica and her husband, and then my mom had trained up to be able to pace me. So my mom did a little over 20 miles, and Selena did a little over a 50K of those last 53 miles that we did. So that was really fun. So I had Selena, and then my mom came in and did a 10 or 15 mile chunk, and then Selena came back in, and then my mom paced me at the end from mile 90 to 103. So that was really cool.
Wow.
To be able to go with her. But it's very different having your mother pace you, because she's like, they're my people, like my mom and my sister, like if I'm sad or I'm hurting, like still I want my mom. And so it was weird because I didn't get that like more motivation from her. It was almost like I gave in more to like, let's sit at this aid station, let's walk a little bit more. And of course she couldn't be like, no, you're gonna run. She was like, okay, yeah, let's walk. So my splits were a little bit slower with her, but it was just so cool to be able to share the course with, like, it was a whole family thing for us, which was so amazing to be able to have.
Yeah.
Kendall and her husband and my mom and me and our stepmom. Like, it was just a really cool thing to share it.
Wow, yeah, that is great. And thanks for mentioning the stepmom, because I forgot that Cheryl's not your mom.
Yeah,
And
we call her.
Wait a minute, she paced you for 20 miles and then me too?
We call Cheryl our bonus mom.
She's our bonus mom.
Yes, yeah. What'd you say, Lyndsi?
Oh, I was just saying, she's our bonus mama.
Oh, yeah. So let's talk about the course for just a second. I won't drag on too much about it. But what was that portion that was really sandy and it was like a gully, and you had to have like 1 foot in and 1 foot up, unless you could get your feet, which I couldn't get mine directly in front of one another.
It was a dirt bike path. Yes, that was it. That's what it was made for.
That's like mile 40 to 50 something, right? Around there.
Yes.
That was the worst.
It was terrible.
Yes. I mean, Carla, if you don't want an F-bomb, we should not discuss that part of the course. I don't think I was more negative in any part of the race except for when we were in there. And it was like, it was sand or it was black mud. And then once we came out of it, we actually came upon a couple of people that were the same way. They were like, can you believe that crap back there? Like, I think most participants would agree. And I don't know, there were so many pieces of it that had to be changed around. Like, it kind of made me wonder, was this always supposed to be a piece, or was this like ice storm related? And they didn't want to make us do this, but they had to. I kind of like to tell myself that, because it was not very nice. But it was a rough, I don't even know how long it went on for. It felt like miles, but it wasn't very long.
Yeah, I think it was like, no, I think it was close to like 10 miles at least. I think I said 18 earlier, but it was like part of that big trail section.
Was it?
I don't know.
The other piece that got me was, there was a point where we went across a bridge made of logs, and you could kind of tell that it must have been swampy, and they just quickly made that. Well, I fell there, and thankfully where I landed I didn't like go underwater. It was just it was just wet. Yeah, so that's okay.
Plug in my computer.
So But then during the night when we're running in, I guess what was supposed to be grasslands or whatever, I fell there. And I know I feel like I rolled like a hot dog down the little hill, and
Oh
Cheryl's
no.
going, "Oh my goodness!" It was funny.
Yeah,
It was, thankfully it was
the
soft.
grass,
And then that point,
the grass on that
yes, I
Hillman
tripped
Trail
so
was
many
not. It
times.
was not it.
Grass on the hill and travel. Tough. But the cow poop mile was the worst.
Yes.
Right? What was that?
I hated
I
that.
said, and that was late in the race.
It was
and
mile like 90
It was in the 90s,
something,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And my brain was, I'm like, is that bear poop?
I think
Yeah, I was like totally.
Cheryl came back. So my dad went up, right? Because Cheryl was running all night, and they had a hotel in Alpena. And that's where Andy and I went after the race. Like, we went there, showered. He took a little nap because he had to drive us home. And she walked into, we're both just like barely conscious sitting in that hotel room. And she's trying to tell me this story. And she's like, Carla thought it was bear poop. And all I could think of was, is this a bear farm? Because like, it's a lot of bears. If it is bear poop, there's 100 bears in this field. There's not just one. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Which,
yeah, and there was this twig or something on the side of the path, and we're running. I go, "What was that?" And she's like, "A stick." And I went, "Oh, I thought it was a guy standing there peeing." She's like,
yes,
"What?"
I did that to Andy. I don't even know how many times. I'd be like, "What is that? What was that?" And he's like, "It's literally like a tree on the side of the trail." And my eyes played tricks on me for a long time. I swore to him that we were running uphill for miles and miles and miles. And I'd be like, "No, look, like you can see the headlamps up in front of us. Like those are up. We're going uphill." And that man had 250 feet of elevation in the entire 25 miles that he paced me. And so he's like, "Yeah, how about all those hills?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I swear we were going up a hill." I still stand by it.
I kept thinking of the mile markers. You know how the Wolverine signs had like two little reflective
Oh,
dots?
yeah.
Those looked like eyes
For
to
sure.
me. And I kept telling Selena, "What was that?" "That's an animal." She's like, "No, that's a sign. That's a mailbox." I'm like, "No, that's for sure an animal up there." So, and then we heard like tweeting in the middle of the night, like a chirping, and Kendall had to tell me that mountain lions make chirping noises like birds.
They do.
So I was like, "Selena, that's a mountain lion. They're out here."
But did you hear the coyotes and the bugling?
We thought it was people cheering. Erica and I were like, "What could that be?" It sounded like a whole bunch of people at a football game, like cheering like crazy. And then we listened a little closer, and we heard the coyotes several times. The eyes were a big one.
Do you remember that aid station that was like by a gas station, like in a little city? It was in the middle of the night for us, so it must have been in the 80s. Mom was running with me, so maybe it was even after mile 90.
Was it the disco party one? Yes. That was 78. That was where Andy picked up.
Okay. Well, when we got past that, there was like people having a party. Did you hear them, Kendall? Because you would have been right before me, like 30 minutes-ish before me. And there were guys like hooting and hollering, and they were out, and it was like the middle of the night, and it's just me and Mom. We're all alone, and I was like, "This is really weird."
Yeah.
Like, I hope they don't come out here.
That was my favorite aid station. That girl dressed in her little disco outfit. Carla, I did not sit down once for the entire 25 hours that I was moving, and anything but like running forward felt good. Like to move to the side or like do a deep squat or just anything but forward running. I was willing to do. So we get there, and this girl is just having the time of her life, and we are dancing with her. Erica, my pacer, was handing me off to Andy at this point. So she's celebrating being done. And the girl at the aid station was feeding me grapes, and we're just dancing and dancing. Like Andy had to drag me out of there. And I get going, and I found grapes. The girls had put grapes in my pocket and sent me with grapes in the pocket of my windbreaker that I was wearing. We had so much fun. That one I had a hard time leaving for sure. It was just so nice to just like see people like just other humans that are like alive at this time of the night, because I'm like need toothpicks for my eyeballs. Yeah, it was an odd.
I was sleeping at some point while I was running.
Yeah.
Sure.
My pacer's husband, he had driven her up. And he was an angel and hung out. Like once Andy took over, he took Andy's truck and met us at all the following aid stations. And he was waiting at an aid station and saw a young man come in just looking rough. And the guy said nothing to any of the people. He walked into the woods, just like disappeared into the trees. And they were like, oh, like, you know, if he doesn't come out in a few minutes, we'll go check on him. But like maybe he's sick or, you know, something's going on. About 5 minutes later, he comes out like holding 2 sticks, like actual wooden sticks. And he's like celebrating. He's got this big grin on his face. And he literally went into the woods and found himself some trekking poles and took off with his sticks out of the woods. And Mark was like, you know, I feel like I would have never thought of that if I was that deep into a race. And we passed him like later on, my husband and I passed him. And I was like, those look like sticks. Like those were trees, right? That he's holding. They're not trekking poles. It's pretty funny. I mean, they helped him if nothing else, emotionally, they changed his life in that moment. And he was still chugging along with them when we came upon him.
Yeah. So, just to kind of pat you guys on the back, your very first 100, and Kendell, you were 4th.
I was 4th female, and Lyndsi was 5th. Yep.
4th female, and she was 5th. That is so fantastic. How did that feel? That must have been like
really cool.
Out of this
it hurt kind of. I don't know. I was just moving. Like we've talked about this several times, that we just had I don't think I knew what time it was all day long. Like we had no concept of anything. We started and we were going to move until we finished. And I don't know mile wise where we were, but I had one little moment where I discovered that my husband is in fact a much kinder pacer than I am, because I'm over here like, you signed up for this, you know, like Lyndsi said, you can do anything. You can do anything for this many miles. Like, just keep going. And I stopped, and he turned around and he was like, what's the matter? Are you okay? And I just started crying. And I said, I just want to be still. Like, I have been moving since 3:30 this morning when our alarms woke us up, and I just want to be stationary. Like, I just don't want to move forward anymore. And he let me stand there, you know, and have some pity for a couple of minutes. And then he was like, then he turned it right around and he was,
Uh-oh. Yeah, just for a second. Yeah, we can now. So tell us what he said, because I missed that part. Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah.
It is crazy to be, you know, so far into a race. Like I remember at the 70, I'm like, all right, 70. That's when I sat for the first time and I changed my shoes because that was the end of the trail. So I switched into my cushier road shoes. And then that was my downfall because I sat every aid station after that. It just felt so nice to sit, have a little broth or coffee and something warm. But I made it until 70. But yeah, I just remember thinking like, all right, 70, almost there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have a 50K to go still,
Yeah.
which was kind of wild. Even at mile 90, like, oh, we still have a half marathon left because they added miles to the course. But
Yeah.
it was nice. I remember coming in, we passed a lot of people towards the end. Like Kendell, I know Kendell did too because she was ahead of me. So we were passing, and then we started passing 100K people. And I remember I just asked, like, I was always asking about her. So I would come in and like, when did Kendell come in? You know, I knew her number, like, she's my sister. And they were like, oh, you know, they would always remember her because of her dancing.
Not everybody remembered me that way.
Like, how are we doing? How, you know, how many people have come through? And she's like, honestly, like, we haven't seen hardly any 100-mile women. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so we're not doing too bad. Because I just remember feeling like I was like, I'm moving so much slower than I thought I would be overnight. Like, I just really had slowed down a lot. But
well, and I think there's power in conserving yourself early on. Like, that's definitely something that her and I talked about. You know, we're not going to get excited and go nuts in these early miles, because if you think you're far away from 100 at mile 80, you're so far away from 100 at mile 12 to be killing yourself, you know. And there were people, like, we distinctly remember some people and like certain outfits were like, oh yeah, that orange shorts guy, you know, he went blowing by us. I mean, they were probably running 8-minute miles in less than a 50K in, and both of us came upon him. And, you know, like, there's a lot that can happen in 100 miles. And I think we were passed by all sorts of people at the beginning, and it's just, you know, like, we're running this to finish and to do it, not to really do anything crazy. But then it felt really good, you know, like, it makes me feel bad to say that, but it felt really good to be coming upon people and knowing that, like, okay, I'm still moving, and I'm still moving pretty consistently, you know, like, I can still run. This guy that we follow on Instagram always records himself in the last 5K of his hundreds, and he's like, a 5K to go, and he says, your mom can run a 5K, and it's like a thing. And so my husband was like counting down for me to get to the 5K so that he could ask me, what do we got left? But yeah, like, those his face is so big. Those final miles were really, it was kind of crazy. Like Lyndsi said, at mile 90, like, you feel so close. Like, I've literally run for 90 miles, but a half a marathon is nothing small, you know, like, that is still so much. And again, when the 50K people started, I was about a mile outside of town when the 50K people started, maybe a little over a mile. And so, you know, they were coming out on the same course, and we were passing all of them. And I remember telling Andy, like, it just feels really good to have somebody cheer for me. I just need people to cheer for me right now. Because they're like, this is insane. Yes. And they were amazing. They were all so sweet. And every single person that we passed was like cheering you on to come into the finish. And I could not even look. I couldn't even make eye contact with Andy without like starting to cry as I got close to the finish line. I don't know why, but like, I mean, I was like that all day, like imagining the finish line. I was like, get it together, you know, like, you're not there yet, so you don't get to cry just yet. But in that last mile, it was just like, I don't know why. I still don't know that I can really like explain it. But you just go through so much to get there, you know, like, you have those little moments of doubt, like Lyndsi said, you have little tiny things happen. And I didn't have nothing like major, you know, derailed either of us, but you just start to feel like, oh, I'm going so slow, and I just don't want to move anymore. Like, I'm sick of this. I just don't want to keep moving. and then you do it anyway. And there's just something really powerful to feeling like I did it anyway when things didn't feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when you find out how many people actually didn't finish, then it's like, wow, but I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yes.
And just like, I couldn't believe how well we moved for our first time. I mean, in Kendall's first 50 mile, she walked. I think, how many miles at the end did you have to just walk? Quite a few.
Oh, well.
That happened to me a lot too in my first 50 miles. So to be able to run,
Yeah.
we ran across the finish line, you know, and so it was really cool to be able to like, I'm still running. This is over 100 miles and I'm still moving well.
And it teaches you so quickly that your body can move a lot longer than your brain thinks it can, which is, you know, I'm a physical therapist and I work with kids and adults in like the neuro population, and everyone's always teasing me because they, you know, they think I'm a little bit mean, and I'm always telling them like, you don't stop when you're tired. You stop when you're done. Like, no offense, because again, I mean this with all the love in my heart. I don't care that you're tired. You came here to be tired. And I feel like Lyndsi said, you know, especially like an able-bodied person in the world, like everything is so comfortable. You're never wondering like how you're going to do something. You're not afraid or unable to get through your daily life. And so I feel like being able to draw from an experience like that, like, I don't know what it's like to have a stroke. I don't know what it's like to have cerebral palsy, but I do know what it's like to feel like I don't know if I can take another step. And guess what? I did it anyway. You know, like, we still have the same kind of brain and muscles and signals that tell our body that they should stop when it's really not an emergency. You don't really need to stop. It would just be more comfortable to stop. And so for me and for work, like, obviously it's not this like, well, you do this because I ran 100 miles. It's like, I did it anyway, and I reaped the benefits of doing it anyway, and I'm going to help you do the same. And if I could get everybody in my life to go and just say okay to running an ultra marathon, I honestly would, because I feel like you have to experience something like that, or you just never get it.
Can't get it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know this is crazy, but I really like the distance. I'm not a fast person, like, you know, 5K fast or anything like that, but I can go for a long time. I'm probably going to complain about it, but I can go for a long time.
Exactly.
All right. Do you guys have any last thoughts or words or tidbits you want the audience to know about you, about your crazy running, what you have coming up, or just something maybe to get them off the couch into their first 100 miler or 5K for that matter?
I think if you have the thought and it's in your mind as a what if, sign up. Just go out and try it. You know, give yourself that shot. Consistency has proven to be, you know, my number one that I like pass on to my patients and things like that. Just be consistent. Show up for yourself. Once you get started, like done, you know, Sally McRae, we follow her, and she always says like, done is better than perfect, or done is better than no. No, I'm gonna mess it up.
Something is better than nothing.
Nothing. Done is better than perfect. There it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just say, like, if it's on your heart and you've been thinking about it, just put yourself out there and try, because you're never going to know if you don't try. And it has literally changed my life. Like, the way that I just live my day to day now that I've completed that is like completely different. Like, I don't think about, oh, I can't do that, or I know I can do that. I ran 100 miles.
Right.
You know? It just really changes your attitude about like your capabilities and, you know.
Yeah. And like to just start. I mean, we live in a pretty small community, and so everybody sees my husband and I out running. And just the other day, a close family friend of ours, we grew up with her, she tagged me in her Facebook post, and it was a selfie of her out walking. And she ran by Lyndsi and I the other day, and she's waving and she's blowing kisses to us and she's clapping, you know, through her car window. And she said, she was like, well, I'm not running, but I'm out here. And she tagged me and was like, thanks for the push. Like, it's cold, but it feels so good. And I think it's easy to look at somebody else doing something and feel like that feels so far away from like a starting point. But like Lyndsi said, consistency is number one, and you just have to start. Like you just have to do it, because 9 times out of 10 it's actually not as bad as you think it's going to be. And I think that's true, especially in these cold weather days. Like we've been out running in this misery, and I have to peel myself out of my heated blanket to get dressed and go out, and then I'm out and I'm like, okay, this is incredible. Yeah, like it's actually not that bad. But to not compare, your own miles or experience to somebody else's, because it's just, it's so different. Like everybody has a different thing that's going to work for them. It doesn't have to be running, but something outside of your comfort zone is just life-changing. And if you can even just get one person to take your advice and go do it anyway, it's worth sharing the experience. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are sick of me and Lyndsi talking about running 100 miles and ask us if we care, because like we don't, and I'm going to tell you about it until you think like, maybe I should do that.
Their feelings don't matter, just like yours don't when you're in pain.
Exactly. Everybody's got a problem.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I had so much fun reliving the race with you guys, and from your point of view, which was a little different than mine. But yeah, it was a really good time, and I will look forward to maybe running with you guys again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Wasn't that so much fun? Did you guys really enjoy that episode? They were so fun to talk to. I wished I could have ran with them the whole time. I probably would have had a little bit better of a time, but I probably couldn't have kept up. I mean, let's just be realistic. But thank you so much for listening. I hope, as I mentioned, that you enjoyed that. If you did, share it with somebody. Please rate the show with 5 stars. I always appreciate that. And for those of you who don't know, you can see this episode on YouTube if you'd like to. And just don't comment on the fact that the intro and the outro, I was in different clothing. So no big deal. Things happen. Life is fun. So please reach out to me if you need anything, coaching or otherwise. Follow me on all the socials. And share this episode. And if you would like to be on the podcast, I would love to hear your story. Reach out to me, Carla at coffeecrewcoaching.com. Have a great day.